现在就要分他名下的财产存款，他年薪20万，一年花完之后能存10万，现在在那边工作已经5年了。
那你为啥不收我年薪100万？
婚后双方感情一般，由于婚前缺乏了解，婚后夫妻缺乏思想交流，缺乏沟通，感情不和，没有共同语言，致使夫妻感情日益疏远，并且被告存在暴力倾向，持刀架原告脖子上威胁，扬言同归于尽。被告对孩子也漠不关心，对被告经常不接电话，不回消息，联系不上，再加上异地分居，夫妻双方感情无和好的可能。
经常满腹牢骚，无事生非。为了家庭的完整，答辩人对被答辩人的种种恶劣行为总是以人待人，被答辩人对家庭的胡闹反而是变本加厉。在答辩人及家人完全不知情的时候，私自把答辩人家里的房屋的证件、答辩人父亲汽车证件及答辩人家中原有的贵重物品偷偷藏匿或者转移。
不要问你这个明确一下，你要不要？
小孩归被告，不需要原告收抚养费。
他名下婚后的存款大概有30-40万，车子一直是他开，车子可以折成钱平分。
现在这个车值多少钱
？5万块钱吧。
你俩得商量一个数啊。
5万，一人2.5万。
5万我愿意，你给我2万5，车子你开走。我不要，车子本来就在你名下。
可以不可以？
不可以，因为我不会开，车子一直是开。
不会开，你找人过来开啊。
车子一直是他开的。
被告说说共同财产、共同债务。
存款，因为他一直不上班，在家里边一直不上班，是今年3月份、4月份刚上班，一直都没有挣钱，所以我挣的钱基本上家里边花完了。现在存款也就1万多块钱。车子，
你说这个车子值多少钱？被告
2万块钱。他要是要给我1万块钱，他随便开。
那我不要了，送给他了。
你说一下这个车辆分割方案，你是放弃分割吗？
对，归原告吧。
车辆归你？
不分割了，归我。
不分割了，车不是在你名下了吗？
可以归我，可以。
你不还是要求分割吗？这个车辆归你是吧？你愿意给他补偿多少钱？
不补偿。
车辆归你是吧？不给被告补偿。
对。
补偿1万块钱，车你开走，我不要。
那给我1万块钱就行了，一直是他开，我不会开，还让他继续开吧。从买了之后都是一直他在开，他加的油，所有的跟车的有关的都是他一直在用。
我刚才看到了一个非常爆炸性的新闻。
Recently, a news report about marriage laws has attracted widespread attention, with many men expressing that they no longer want to get married after reading it. The news mentioned Article 21 of the marriage law, which contains 2 key points. First, if a couple has cohabited for 3 years or longer and suddenly breaks up, the situation becomes different. In the past, when a couple broke up, they could each go their separate ways, and property wasn't much of an issue. However, according to the new law, if 2 people have cohabited, especially for more than 3 years, their cohabitation will be regarded as a de facto marriage. This means that the property accumulated during their cohabitation can be divided. In other words, even without a formal marriage, the woman has the right to claim a share of the man's property when they break up. Secondly, another important point is about the maintenance obligation after divorce. If a couple divorces after marriage, in addition to dividing their property, if the woman's living conditions are difficult, the man has an obligation to continue providing financial support until the woman's financial situation improves. The introduction of this law can be seen as a protection of women's rights, especially for those women who face difficult living situations due to a breakup or divorce. For instance, women who have no home to live in or lack the financial capacity to take care of children can receive support through this law. These 2 changes have been seen by many women as a strong protection of their rights. In particular, women in difficult economic situations can receive relative support. However, on the other hand, these new legal provisions might cause some men to develop a fear of marriage, worried about their property and economic responsibilities, leading them to hesitate about getting married. This has also sparked a debate on whether the marriage system is becoming too biased in favor of women.
女人出轨后打算离婚的时候是如何算计你的财产的？
When a woman decides to cheat and plans to divorce, how does she carefully calculate and manipulate the man's assets? Gentlemen, you'd better listen closely and avoid falling into her strategies. Even if she is at fault in the divorce, she might end up taking most of your assets, and she could even take the house you are left with. Some women, in order to prevent you from keeping the house for yourself, might even demand that you transfer the house to the child's name. At this point, you really need to think about how much effort you've put into this marriage, how many years of hard work you've invested, and how much of the family wealth, including property you bought before the marriage, might actually belong to you. Why should she end up calculating everything and taking it all away, leaving you with nothing? Her purpose is very clear. Since she no longer has any feelings for you, she won't care about your well-being during the divorce. She will not hesitate to take the wealth you've worked so hard to earn and take everything away, continuing to spend your money and enjoying life with the third party outside. She wants you to end up with nothing after the divorce. Think about it. Without a house, with no basic financial security, who would want to be with you? Who would want to marry a man with no financial means? Some women even propose that you sign an agreement not to remarry after the divorce, which is an unequal term, while she herself is living happily with the third party. Gentlemen, you must understand that often, when they prevent you from remarrying, it's not because they truly care about the child and fear that your new marriage might harm the child. In fact, she doesn't even care about her own child's well-being. The stepmother may care for the child far better than this woman who abandoned her husband. The real reason she does this is because she wants to keep you as her backup. She hopes that whenever she needs you, you will be there for her, relying on you no matter the time. Some men, even after the divorce, continue to provide help, money, or rush to assist their ex-wives in times of need, willingly doing these things for them. If you are in this situation, you must remember, every penny you earned and every asset you accumulated is the result of your years of hard work. You have every right to decide how it should be distributed, and you must fight for your own interests. You cannot let her take everything. She is the one at fault, and giving her anything is already generous. What you need to do is protect your rights and ensure you have the upper hand, getting the share that belongs to you. You have contributed so much to the family. How could you end up with nothing after the divorce? As for the house, you must never fall for her manipulation. The argument that the house should be transferred to the child's name is not genuine. She's doing it to prevent you from having any security. In fact, the child's future can be discussed later. What matters now is that you have a place to live. Without a house, getting another one will be extremely difficult. You must first ensure that your life is stable so that you have the energy to take care of your child. If you can't even live well, how can you expect the child's future to be good? If you don't live well, you'll become a burden to the child. Don't take all the responsibility on yourself while she enjoys life outside. You need to share the pressure with her and make her bear her own responsibilities. Let's see if she can continue living well with the third party. One day, when those third parties no longer want to bear the burden of life, she will realize that in the end, she's left in a helpless situation and will come back to you for help. Remember, one day the child will grow up, and you will grow old. Your wealth can be left to the child, but not right now. What matters now is that you take care of yourself. Don't wait until the child gets married and realize you have nowhere to live. You cannot depend on the child to take care of you. You must secure your own future. Sometimes, don't let excessive expectations crush you. During the divorce, men must actively fight for asset distribution and child support. You must prepare for your future and claim what is rightfully yours.
找一个强势的，比自己在各个方面都优秀很多。
Many women hope to find a man who is stronger and more capable than themselves. They expect this man to be more excellent in all aspects and provide them with a sense of security. However, this kind of thinking is often full of contradictions. Although they hope to find a strong and reliable man, they also wish to control him, demanding that he provide emotional support, give all of his earnings to them, and follow their commands in every aspect. However, this idea itself is unrealistic. The man who listens to you and follows your every word is not someone you would be attracted to. The kind of man you admire is one you cannot control. This is because a strong man will not easily submit to a weaker woman. Strong men have their own principles and abilities, and why should a weaker woman expect him to bow down to her? Once a woman harbors such unrealistic expectations, she will never be able to live happily with her partner. The relationship will not go well because she will constantly try to control him. For example, there was a woman who once consulted me about her marriage. She and her husband had a significant income disparity. She asked me how she could get her husband to give all his money to her. I told her that this is like a local government trying to get the central government to hand over financial power. It's completely impossible. A woman can only ask for submission when her intelligence and abilities exceed those of her husband. Some women harbor unrealistic fantasies. They often think that by marrying a strong man, they can control everything about him. The problem is that such women often lack the necessary abilities, which leads them to deeper trouble. Their goal is to gain wealth and status through marriage. However, they lack self-awareness and underestimate their own abilities, naively thinking that they can gain everything from a man in this unreasonable way. Therefore, women must focus on self-improvement. Only by continuously enhancing their abilities can they interact with their partners on an equal footing in marriage, achieving true happiness and respect.
女人出轨后对待婚姻会有以下3种情况。
When a woman cheats, the trajectory of the marriage usually falls into 3 scenarios. The first scenario is when she clearly states that she must divorce you, with her decision already made. The second scenario is when she could either choose to divorce or stay. Even if she continues living with you, she will not sever ties with her lover. The third scenario is when she no longer lives with you but doesn't officially divorce, simply leaving you. Although you are still technically married, you are essentially strangers. If it eventually leads to divorce, you must make every effort to secure the maximum financial benefit for yourself. Whether through persuasion, negotiation, or with the help of a lawyer, you should do everything possible to minimize financial losses. Often, when men reach this point, they face a contradictory situation. They may not care about the money, but they desperately want to fight for custody of the children. However, I want to tell you that the child will always be your child. Even if the mother takes him away, in the future, he will still recognize his paternal roots and will never sever his blood ties with you. As he grows older, he will discern right from wrong and eventually choose to come back to you. Therefore, I don't advise you to give up fighting for financial assets in the hope of securing child custody. From another perspective, financial assets are crucial for you. If the child is in your custody, you will bear both parents' responsibilities, being both the father and the mother. Therefore, you need a solid economic foundation to support the child's growth. A child's development requires not only love, but also material security. If you can't even support yourself, how can you provide a stable environment for your child's life? How can you offer him better education and growth opportunities? You have made a firm choice, and for the sake of the child's future, you must have enough resources to support his growth. If you choose to fight for custody, you must fight for the largest financial support, as it is the foundation of your and your child's future life. From the moment of betrayal, that woman no longer cares about this family or her children. She is unworthy of your sincere love and care. So even if you give her part of your wealth, it will ultimately be in vain, like a dog chasing after a meat bun. Your efforts will not be reciprocated. The wealth you've worked hard for a lifetime may end up being squandered by her with another man, and she might even use your money to support another man. If your marriage has reached the point of divorce due to her infidelity, you must strive to protect your rights to the fullest. At this point, you must not be soft-hearted, because leniency will only put you and others in a difficult situation.
When it comes to divorce, many people believe that property should always be divided equally, especially when the woman demands that the house, car, and savings must be split in half. This might seem like a matter of course to many, but in reality, this perspective is flawed. According to Article 1087 of the Civil Code, when a court handles a divorce property division case, it must follow specific principles, mainly taking into account the interests of children, the woman, and the innocent party. This does not mean that the marital property will always be split equally. On the contrary, the distribution will vary depending on the specific circumstances. First and foremost, the interests of the children are the most basic principle when the court divides property. The living and educational needs of the children must be guaranteed. So the court will prioritize how to ensure that the children can continue to live a stable and good life, even after the parents divorce, and that their education will not be affected. This point is usually easy to understand, as the children's future is crucial. Secondly, If neither party is at fault in the marriage, the court will particularly consider the woman's interests, especially when the woman has borne a significant portion of the household chores and child-rearing responsibilities. The court tends to favor the woman's rights. This is because, in many cases, the invisible labor that women contribute to the marriage, such as taking care of the household and raising children, often does not receive sufficient recognition. Therefore, the court will give weight to this contribution when dividing the property. Lastly, if the man has a clear fault in the marriage, such as infidelity or domestic violence, then the woman's share of the property will be larger. Similarly, if the woman is at fault, the distribution will also reflect this. This is to ensure that the innocent party is better protected and compensated, preventing the irresponsible behavior of the guilty party in the marriage from being tolerated. In general, when dividing property in a divorce, the court not only considers the accumulated marital assets, but also weighs the contributions and responsibilities of both parties. Therefore, if you are facing the division of property in a divorce, you must fully understand the legal provisions and actively fight for your reasonable rights. You should not simply assume that marital property will automatically be divided equally. Lastly, I hope everyone can find true happiness and harmony in marriage, respecting and caring for each other, and walking through every stage of life together. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to provide you with better programs. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.